All right. Hello, everyone, everybody. This is Diana K. It's Friday. I feel like I am in doing this radio show or something. It is Friday and a lovely morning here. Welcome, everyone. We are going to talk about a wonderful topic very suiting for this moment, surviving midterms. Again, this is Diana K. This is the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. We are conducting a series of chess success workshops for our students. And this is the second one this semester, surviving midterms. Welcome everyone here. This session is being recorded and I apologize for the messages popping up at the bottom. I really appreciate you guys being here and we are going to begin. All right, so I'm gonna go back and forward between my presentation and our Zoom here. We are going to start briefly with some introductions. But I want to share my initial screen here. Deasia, can you confirm that you are seeing the title Surviving Midterms on your screen?
No, I don't see nothing at all.
You don't see anything. Okay, that's why I'm confirming. Definitely. Okay, so let's see. Share screen. That would be probably why it's not showing up. How about now?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Yay, awesome. All right, so let's do the full sharing here. I guess it's not letting me do it. Thank you guys for your patience, by the way. I always let everybody know in my workshops, I'm not that amazing with technology, so hang on, wait. I know, right? All right, but the important thing is that we can see the whole presentation. So here we go. This is what we're going to be talking about today. So surviving midterms. I like to start with the basics, as simple as what are midterms, right? Why they are important. So I'm going to show you and going to let you know why midterms are actually something that is something to keep in mind when you're studying. We're going to look or talk a little bit about how we peer mentors and myself, I am also a student, by the way, so I also think about midterms and things like that. So how we survive during these busy times, right? Then we're going to talk a little bit more about those things, sharing tips. This is about kind of figuring out what else everybody's doing, right, to survive midterms. Things are always different for everyone, different courses, different responsibilities. So what do we do to keep up with all these things and survive? And when I say survive is, yes, getting the good grades, but also, you know, being okay, right? You need to take care of your well-being. You know, don't stress out too much, but you also have to, you know, get your good grades. So how do we do all these things? And we're going to finish with some additional steps or resources that we can all utilize. So that's what we're going to be doing here. I'm going to go back to our Zoom. Here, actually, I guess I go here. Whoops, hang on. Well, okay, resize. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, again, we're a very small group, but we're going to start with some introductions, okay? Let's start here in person. Okay, so I'm going to move my screen here for a moment. We have Alejandra. So tell us a little bit about you and if you are actually going through some midterms right now, what's going on with your classes?
Okay, so my name is Alejandra. I'm a junior this year at Mason, and my midterms are coming up. I have a couple at a time, like within 2 days. So I do have to, that is something that I'm currently worrying about. And luckily I can be on campus and you know, create an environment for myself where I can focus. But yeah, we'll get into how I'm surviving that a little bit later. But it's nice to see you, Jalen and Deja.
All right. Now, this is so cool. Like, we are in person and we're online. Deja, you're not driving, right? Okay, good. Like don't join Zoom and drive at the same time. That should be a new tagline there. So tell us a little bit about you.
Alrighty, I'm Deasia. I'm currently a junior at Mason. I live off campus. I live at home back in Maryland. Well, in Maryland,
Mhm.
actually. So it is kind of hard to find a place where I can like just sit down and focus because I mostly do it all in my room. So I've been trying to like go to places. Like sometimes I bring my stuff with me at work because I know if I do it at work, I'll get it done. I'm actually leaving from work now. So yeah, and then but I took a couple of my midterms already, but I do have one next Wednesday for my last class. So yeah.
All right. Okay. So hopefully with some of the tips we're going to be sharing here that can help for your last midterm. All right. And Jalen, can you tell us your major and what's going on with you in terms of midterms at the moment?
Hi, everyone. So I'm a junior communications major, junior year,
Okay.
and I currently live on campus, but this weekend I have to go home and pick up some things. But basically kind of similar to what was said earlier, just trying to get a better environment for focusing on my midterms. And it's hard to do that while I'm at home, and I have a few that are due this weekend.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's you have to find this different, a balance, a way to being at home, but at the same time study and get ready for all your exams and things like that. So I hear you. And even if you are in your dorm, I mean, you're there and distractions, friends, things going on. It can be a little bit challenging to focus sometimes on those things. So let's take a look at different things that we can look into when we're working on midterms. I also want to say that midterms in this case is not only what we're learning here, basically, or what we're about to look into. You can apply it not only for midterms, but for basically any situation where you are during crunch time, right? Let's say you're also working and you have a deadline for a project. There's a lot going on at stake and you need to deliver, but you also need to take care of yourself, right? So these tips here, I think they're going to be nice just for anybody going under a lot of stress. So midterms, right? So what are actually these midterms that everybody is so afraid of, right? So here at Mason, midterms is this evaluation period, right? It's basically for 100 and 200 level courses. Instructors, professors in 300 or 400 level courses, they can also submit midterms, but they're not required. So it would be nice if we all do it, right? But at least for 100 and 200 level instructors, they do have to submit these grades. They are available in PagerWeb. So our midterm period this semester is actually started quite some time ago. September 20th was a Monday, and it ends on Friday, October 15, which is actually next week. With some students, I hear some of them saying, and I'm saying this week, like, okay, I'm gonna start getting ready for midterms. Like, well, midterms are already underway. It's happening. It's actually, we're almost at the end of them. So it is key to actually know when midterms are taking place each semester. It's listed on the calendar for each semester, so you can see when those weeks for midterms take place. Midterms are a snapshot, right? They show a little bit of how you are doing in the class. It's not precisely your final grade, of course, and things can change, can improve, or can stay in a very good level, but it's a good way to kind of gauge where you are, right? Are you doing well? What things you should be doing to kind of do a little bit better if you have to, right? It's not part of your permanent record, of course, but it's a good way to figure out where you are. And maybe if things need to be improved, talking with your professor or coming to a workshop and figuring out, okay, what else can I do to get things, keep rolling, keep happening in the way that I want them to be. They're important, right? Even though it's not your final grade, it's important because it's a way to understand how well you're doing in the class. if you're understanding the materials, if you are connected with the class, if you like it, right? And look at it this way. Midterms is in the middle, right? So if you do well, if you try really hard on your first half of the semester and you do well, then you already have, half the battle accomplished, right? So your second half should be easier, right? So it's important to see it that way. You're almost halfway through it. It's a good way to try really hard. And then your second half, you're going to be like, okay, I already know how to do this and I'm going to be okay, right? What do you guys think about midterms in the sense of, do you think it's something that helps you figuring out how you're doing in class? It's something that matters to you? What are your thoughts in this case?
For me, midterms is something that matters to me, because it shows me like what I need to change about like my study habits or like what I'm doing in the class. So it makes me like more focused in a sense, because after midterms, like it's final, so it like something's got to change, and like either that's like me studying or like me working less, but it gives me like in a picture like what I need to do in these last couple of weeks to get better.
Exactly. So it's a good way to just figuring out, okay, this is where I am. This is what I need to do in order to keep it up or improve it. So it's very stressful, right? It's still, even if you're doing well, you're going to be like, okay, this is the midway. Gosh, this is a lot of pressure and so forth, but you need to be okay with that. You need to survive those things. So some things that we're going to be able to provide here are going to be very useful. But what I like to say to students checking this presentation is this is not, you have to do it this way, right? Everybody has different styles for learning, for remembering, from assimilating information, right? So these are just strategies that are going to work or have worked for some people, but your job in this case is try them out. And if they're not effective, that's okay. It's not for everybody, everything, right? You might come up with your own unique and very effective strategies. Whatever works for you, that's what matters. And if it works, then stick with them, right? Don't think of it as in, oh, well, everybody else is doing this other way, but I don't like it. But if everybody's doing it, then I should do it. Whatever works for you, stick with it and master it. It's your own unique style of studying and becoming a master of what you are working on, right? So these are all the secrets that we have here for you in order to improve and do a little bit better. So number one, break things down into manageable chunks, right? We have big assignments. It might be a big paper, midterm exam, presentation, big things, right? So that can be really, really overwhelming to think about an entire paper, right? But what we need to think about in this case is we know these things are coming from the beginning of the semester, right? We get a syllabus, there are dates there, right? So we know when things are going to be due. Your job, in order to be a little bit less overwhelmed, is to break things down into these manageable parts that you can do maybe a little bit at a time so you don't feel overwhelmed, right? So it's a matter of kind of decomposing things, right? For example, you have a big paper. We know papers have different parts, right? Depending on the subject, it might be an introduction and then the content of the main content. You have a bibliography. You have all these different things. You can break them into sections and start working on them, right? I know some students, they actually love, the pressure that, ooh, I'm going to, get this paper all done in a day. I don't recommend that strategy. I know it works for some people. They love to work on the pressure and they get things done, but it's stressful in my opinion. So I want to hear a little bit about what you guys do in this case. Do you prefer to, break things down into parts, or you do like before the deadline, one day before that, I'm going to get this done. So I want to know, for example, Alejandra, what do you do when you have this big things to do?
Okay, so what I do is I prioritize my work in order of how long it's going to take me and also how hard it is, because and also like, what's due before what. But if I have, one thing that's due on Monday and one thing that's due on Wednesday, but that thing on Wednesday is like much harder and much more time consuming, then I'm going to try to finish that first. And when they're all kind of, let's say they're all the same, all due around the same, then I try to take like a week in advance and work on like at least a little bit of everything every day. That way I'm setting my future self up for an easier time. So I don't leave myself this like huge workload. Even if I really don't want to do it that day, the next day I'm going to thank myself for doing it. And I'm going to feel so much more relieved because like, at least I did something. Like it's not that, it won't be that hard when I have to. So that's what really helps me, is just like, what should be done first? And that usually helps.
That is a great way to do it. And actually that's part of another tip that is coming up. It's a very, hopefully you remember this tip. It's tip number like 3, I believe. So it's coming up, but it's true. I mean, you have to kind of tackle that first thing that is the one thing that you don't want to do or that you're more, afraid of. Do it first. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. One last thing about breaking tasks into manageable chunks is it gives you an extra cushion in case something doesn't go well, right? If you are leaving things for the last minute and something unexpected happens, you don't have any more time to fix it. Time's up, right? So if you do this little by little before the deadline, if let's say your computer crashes, internet is down, no power, something like that, you have an extra time, maybe a couple days to come up with what you need to do and not just go through such amount of stress. And we see that happens, right? 2 days before the final storm, power's down, you can't do anything. And it's like, oh my gosh, why I didn't study beforehand, right? So yeah, things to keep in mind there. Goal or tip number 2, keep your end goal in mind, right? But you also have to think about the little goals on the way, right? We all have that big dream. We want to get the degree, right? I want to become a psychologist. I want to finish my communication degree. I want to work in media production, things like that. And that's your dream, you love it, but it can be a little bit too big, right? To dimension, especially when you are in the middle of a semester, you might have maybe a couple more years to go. It might feel a little, too much, too far away in the future. So how can you stay motivated about that big goal while you're also trying to do little things, or not little things, smaller steps in order to get to that big goal, but it's in the future, right? So remember that you do want to do that, right? But the key is actually trying to connect what you're doing right now with your big end goal. So you want to, let's say you want to become a therapist, but you right now are just taking classes, your general courses, for example, have nothing to do with becoming a therapist. So the history class, or I don't know, the math class, you're like, oh, why I don't want to do this, right? It's not part of me being a psychologist or a therapist in the future, but I actually need that, right? So it's good to know a little bit about, general things out there in the world. Perhaps I'm going to be talking with one of my patients in the future about something that can be part of my history class right now, right? So it might be connected, it might be important. So it's good to kind of find ways to connect what you're doing right now with what you will be doing in the future. Little goals, right? One thing at a time, it's important to do it. Like think about, okay, I finish my classes this semester, that is 50 more credits closer to getting my degree, right? So that sounds actually a little bit better. Like, okay, I'm really taking big steps, even though it's not that big step of finishing my degree. So I would like to hear about this from you guys. So do you think about that? How do you connect your big dream, Jalen, yes, with the things that you're doing right now?
So I kind of felt this way my freshman year. I took like a bunch of gen eds, I think probably the whole year. But I kind of just like write down my end goal and just keep reminding myself that you know, I'm going to be doing things that I don't like, but I know it's going to help me towards what I ultimately want to do. And that doesn't just apply with just, you know, in school, but like with work too. Just, you're going to be working with people that you don't like, but, you know, I mean, and that's kind of the same, but just besides the point, you know, just you're going to be going through a bunch of obstacles, but you know, it's not going to be everything that you wanted at
Yeah.
first. And that
Yeah.
applies for everything. So,
but you know, one thing I like about what you're telling us here is that you write your goals down, right? It's silly, right? But still, like, put it in a big piece of paper and put that big goal right there in front of, you know, in your wall. When every time you sit and start working on, you know, those tedious things for your classes right now, big goal is right there, right? I want to do this. And in order to get to that amazing place, I need to take this smaller goals, right? So reminders are good. Those are motivational stuff. I actually do similar things. Perhaps not so much with goals, but I do write things down that I want to accomplish. Like, I want to be a little more efficient. So I'm gonna finish things within 1 hour of time. So I actually have in my house at home, I have a little note there that says, you want to sit here, work for 1 hour, and you get things done. So I'm like, okay, yes, sit here 1 hour, 60 minutes, and I'm gonna work a little bit on this. So it does help. What else happens with these little goals? After you accomplish a goal, you get a reward, right? You get something nice here. So think about it the same way. Reward yourself for those smaller steps that you accomplish. So it can be as simple as, if I study for my midterms 3 days ahead of time, then at the end, I'm going to allow myself, you know, going for a couple hours of shopping at the mall. Or I'm going to get that ice cream that I love, and I'm going to watch my Netflix show without feeling guilty. But that's my reward. If I don't finish what I'm supposed to do, I don't get the reward, right? It's basic, it's simple. But reward yourself. Think about that little thing that you want to do, and don't do it until you finish what you have to do. It's psychology, right? It's very basic. So you want to hang out with your friends, for example. I'll do it, but at first I'm going to finish this thing that I have to do. Once you finish and you go out with your friends, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel like, okay, I accomplished something and I did it. And I am allowing myself this nice little reward. I like to reward myself. It shouldn't be the case, but chocolate is my thing. So yeah, I am like, okay, I'm going to get a nice chocolate bar. But if I don't do my thing, then I'm not going to get the chocolate bar. So think about that.
And something that I think about is, if you know, you study ahead of time and everything, then once you take that test, whatever you get, at least you can honestly say, I tried my best. Like there was nothing else at that point that you could have done, because you did what you could. And then if you don't do so good, well, at least it was an honest outcome.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that you sold yourself short because you didn't study.
Yeah, you feel you know that you did your best. So you feel okay with that, right? So yeah, something good to keep in mind. I have a little message here. Let me see what it is. Okay, I should put my chat box here, right? Yeah. That would be helpful. So awesome. Okay, this is my next big one. And let me see if this is actually the right time for my frog. Not yet. Oh, I gave you a little snapshot of what is coming ahead of time. So our next tip, get into a study routine, right? This actually applies not just for midterms, but for your whole semester. Get into an actual serious routine, meaning set chunks of time aside exclusively for study. And you do that each day or each week, right? So you know your Thursdays from 2 to 7 is going to be your, sacred time for studying. Every week you will be studying around that time. It's useful because it becomes part of, it's like autopilot, okay, Thursday afternoons, that's my time for studying. I'm not going to schedule anything there because I know it's my time for studying, right? It also helps others around you to know when you are supposed to be studying and they don't bother you, right? So your friends are gonna think, okay, well, Jalen is studying on Thursdays afternoon, so we can't come up with anything that day because we know. Same thing with our families, relatives. They know, okay, so yes, you have this amount of time. It's like working, right? Everybody knows, okay, you work from I don't know, 8 to 4 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. So same thing should be with studying. It's a specific amount of time in a specific day of the week. Do you guys do that, or you unfortunately you kind of have to just study whenever you can at any moment? What do you do to set time aside?
What the easiest thing for me, so I don't have to think too much about what's going on when, I just do a little bit of every class every day. So that way it feels better. To me, it feels like I'm doing more. And then, even though I'm doing it every day, I think, okay, which one am I going to spend the most time on today? And that's usually the one that's like the hardest or the one that contains the most work. So that's how I do it.
Interesting. How about you
For-
guys
for
online?
me, I do the same thing as Alejandra, but I tend to work on the class that I know is harder for me. And I try to get that done out the way ahead of time. So like usually when class ends, I work immediately on that class. So I don't forget nothing that we just talked about, because it's always like a discussion board post that's due. So I try to get that done out the way, because the discussion board post is what we were talking about in class. So I try to do that. And then if I know that like I have like like an important assignment for that class, I do that. Like I just do like that main class first, and then I'll like do my other classes like throughout the week, because it's a lot easier for me to understand.
Yeah, it helps. Actually doing things like right after you finish class, like writing things down and trying to kind of finish your notes is a very, very good strategy, because the more you wait, the more you're going to forget, right? So it's good to kind of do it right away after that. Jalen, tell us your strategy. What do you do?
I do kind of the same thing, really. Just depending on, it's usually just one class that I have the most work in. So I try to get that done sooner than later. I focus on that first, and then the harder class. But usually for the harder class, I'm doing more studying aside from the homework. As far as homework, I do more of the actual work first to get that out of the way, because it's the most time consuming.
That's very smart. That's very clever. Yep, that's exactly how you have to do things in this case. Toggle the most, the more time consuming thing first, right? That's when you have the most amount of energy, and that's the best way to do it, basically. But Jalen, do you have a certain days or times that you have set aside in a routine way, or it's just flexible whenever you need to do it?
So I'm kind of a mix of both. A lot of my classes, most of my classes, I do like to do the work right after. But then sometimes if I have another class or something else comes up later that evening, if I'm doing something, I'm involved in stuff on campus. So I'll just wait till later in the evening to work on that.
Okay.
But then I don't try to work on it too long at night, because I usually like to get up. I usually like to get my stuff done earlier in the day than wait till later in the evening.
That's good.
There's no
I mean,
specific date. It depends on which day I have the class, I guess.
Yeah. But that's a great thing to do, because you are planning ahead of time. So next day is a big day, or you have a few things coming up on the rest of for the other days of the week. So you are planning ahead and thinking, okay, maybe I need to study early, so I want to be I want to rest, and I want to be ready for my next big thing the following day. So that's actually a good way to manage those things. It might not be a weekly routine, like you do the same thing every week, but you are applying different strategies there. And so again, none of those things are things that you must do right the same way, but they give you additional ways to see whether it might work for you or not. I like your strategy, Yadlin. Just kind of like doing things right after class, thinking about what's happening the following day and just planning accordingly. So I think it's also a good way to do it. But most of you have mentioned, and you saw my little frog here, something that is a really, really good strategy, and I love it, is basically eating the frog first, is how we call it. So we have things that we are dragging. We don't want to do them. We don't like them. I mean, who likes to, although, I mean, you can eat frogs, I get it. But let's think about, you know, a fresh frog that is still like, you know, there alive. You don't want to eat that thing. So we're talking about that big project that you don't want to, you know, work on, preparing for that exam that you're afraid of, or that presentation that you don't like, right? So that's your frog. That's basically that thing that you don't want to do. And your midterms, they tend to kind of, you know, overlap, right? So you have basically several frogs to take care of for each one of your classes, right? So when you think about them, the easiest way is just grab the worst frog, the biggest one, the ugliest one, and that's the one that you're going to eat first, basically. What happens when you toggle or when you finish the thing that you don't want at all? When you finish it first, you're gonna feel really, really good. You're like, okay, that thing I didn't want to do, I got it done. Yay, I have the rest of my day. I can focus on some other things. I can, you know, take a break, reward myself, of course. So when we are not looking forward to complete something or do something that we like, that's when we procrastinate. We don't feel like, okay, this is not exciting, or I don't understand the material. I'm afraid, any of this other feelings that you are not comfortable with the thing you have to do. That's when you procrastinate and you don't do it. So might as well just attack the thing first thing in the morning or the first time that you have an opportunity to do it. And as I said, if you have 2 frogs, if you have several frogs on your week of midterms, then decide which one is the one that you don't like at all, the ugliest of all of them, and attack that one first. This is actually a really good technique. There are books about this. And this is just a metaphor, right? It's a nice way to kind of visualize the things that you need to do. So think about it. Okay, what's my frog of the day? So my frog of the day is I need to create a report. In my case, I need to come up with a report and I don't feel like doing it. That's the next thing I'm going to be doing. I don't want to do it, but I just want to be done with that, right? I hope you guys do something like that. I know, Jalen, for example, you mentioned that you try to do, you know, the biggest, more complicated thing first, right? What about Deasia and Alejandra? What do you guys do?
When we want to,
When you have big things that you don't want to do and they're due, how do you work on those?
I start so early, and do like a minuscule amount at a time. Because then by the time that it's actually any time it's done, it's mostly done, because I just tell myself, like, if you do at least a little bit today, then that's like how I feel for my astronomy class, because I'm a psychology major and I just have to take astronomy. It's so much and I really don't enjoy it. So that's what I do. I just like start as early as possible and just like cheat my, you know, little bit, and it just accumulates, and then that's how I get it done. Usually.
For me, I do things last minute. For me, I do things last minute because for things I don't like, at least, because I know if I do it last minute, I'll get it done. If I do it ahead of time, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll push it back, like, just so I know I don't have to do it. So I'm like, I shouldn't like do that to myself, but I know if I do it last minute, it'll get done, and then I can just wait the next time till the next time it comes, like, which is like a week later, and just do it last minute. It's like I get like a week break away from that class from doing that assignment.
All right. And Jalen, I know you already do a little bit of, you know, tackling the worst thing first, but do you have any other strategies about your frogs?
That's just more, I mean, it also, if it's a if it's a difficult class or if it's like a
Mhm.
project, for example, or something like that, then I usually try to get that out of the way.
Yep.
But it's always tricky with other people's schedules.
Yeah.
It's always going all over the place, but I just try to get the most done first.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the best
Yeah.
that's the best I can tell you.
Yeah, no, and it's okay. Yeah,
And
there are times
it's
when
more
it
challenging.
might not be possible, right? As you say, other people's schedules. If it's a group project, for example, how do you manage that? It would
So
be
like,
ideal if, yeah.
so I mean, in situations like that though, I usually get like the easy, quick stuff done out of the way. If something comes up,
Mhm.
you know, because it's all going to be due like at the same time. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
another. I mean,
exactly.
I guess that's another one of my strategies. The easy thing first,
Mhm.
or if I have like some free time.
Free time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's ideally we would all wake up in the morning and have nothing else to do other than, work on that thing that we don't want to work on. But yes, we're busy. We have some other things to do. And it might not be possible, right? But being smart, I guess, with your time, right? So if it's not first thing in the morning, is when is my next, available time to do this? When would be the next good opportunity for me to work on this? And so once you have that time and you have the frog and then you have other things that are nice and easy to accomplish, that's when you have to make that decision, right? And say, okay, no, I'm going to put all these things aside. I'm going to tackle my frog first. That's what I have to do. And yeah, it's just being a little flexible with those things and within, the possibilities and so forth. I think it's also a matter of, the planning, right? The thinking, okay, it's not going to be right now, but it might be happening tomorrow afternoon. That's when I actually have some time to work on this. But think about this. Let's keep in mind the frog, right? And look at it. Okay, what's my frog of the day? When am I going to be able to tackle this situation? All right. So trying different approaches, right? I mean, everybody works in different styles. Approaches in this case is from the place where you study, techniques that you utilize to study, all the different ways that you get your work done, right? So you probably already have a good idea, right, of what works for you, right? So you like to work, I don't know, with listening to music that kind of stimulates you going and studying. Some others, they definitely need a super quiet place. Some students, they love to work in groups and they might learn better that way, right? Some others is just, on your own. So maybe what you're doing already is nice and works, but try different things. I always encourage students to contemplate other things, right? So you might discover that there are different styles that might work for you. I like this picture here of, studying in a cafe and so forth. I have a hard time doing that. I get distracted and I start looking at people and I just feel like, oh, I should have, fun instead of studying. So this particular thing doesn't work for me. I need to be, in a quiet place, no interruptions, just focusing on what I'm doing. So it's just a matter of thinking what is good, what works for you. Also, you need to kind of know what ways you can do things in order to keep yourself interested. It might happen, I'm sure it happens to all of us. You start really motivated and 20 minutes later you're like, oh, this is kind of like, I want to do something else. My phone is there, I'm going to check what's happening, texting here and there. So you need to figure ways to keep yourself interested. I like, for example, what Alejandra was saying about doing little things, and maybe one thing for this thing and then another one for this thing. That keeps you interested. That keeps you kind of like awake and like multitasking. That helps sometimes. So it's a technique. It's something that works, right? Some others prefer just, doing the whole thing all at once, couple of hours and be done. I do have to do jumping from thing to thing because I get kind of bored with things. I'm like, 1 hour of this project, I can do it. So I actually have I open one document and a thing on my notebook, and I'm working on some other things, and I just kind of jump from one assignment to another to keep myself awake
Right.
and interested. What do you guys do with your approaches? What are your approaches?
I put my phone on do not disturb, and
Mhm.
then I put it
Oh,
like away. That's mostly what I do.
where do you feel comfortable studying? What's your like best place to get the work done?
Probably the library or my job.
Okay,
Yeah.
works. That's the way that works for you.
Yeah.
All right. How about Jalen? What do you do?
So sometimes for me, and this may sound a bit insane, but sometimes I'll just leave my phone in my dorm and then I'll go study at Peterson. But I mean,
Okay.
it keeps me focused.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't need it with me. I'll just leave it here charging. But if I do need it for the work that I am doing, I do keep it on do not disturb. And then I just try to like keep it away from me. But
Well.
so that, and then sometimes, I mean, I work out most mornings, so it's about balancing time. But then sometimes I'll try to do stuff before that.
Mhm.
Just get up early enough, like really, really early to do stuff, just to get it out
You're a
the way.
morning person, huh?
I try to be.
Yeah,
That's the
that's how
best
I'm
way
on
to be.
Sundays. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it's fine.
That's how I'm that's how I'm on Sundays. Like on Sundays, I know in my mind that like it's time that I have to get work done. So I'll work out
Mm.
like extremely early on Sundays and then get like half of my work done, and then I sleep the rest of the day because I feel like Sundays are also made for sleeping. So I wake up, get work done, go back to sleep. Like, and while I'm getting like work done, I'm also getting like laundry done, like every other thing I have to get done at the same time. So I know that I'm constantly going. And then like when all my work's done, I can just go to sleep.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's the reward, going back to sleep. That is awesome. I just wanted to make a comment on Jalen's strategy, leaving your phone in your dorm. It's crazy. Yeah, I can't live without my phone, so I wouldn't leave anywhere without my phone. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm communicated. I know and it wasn't the case, 15 years ago, you could go out without a phone, right? But right now it's like you have to go out, you have to keep your phone next to you. But it's true. Phones are a distraction for sure. And when you need to focus, either turn it off, put it aside, don't look at it. I've heard that there are even apps where you can just set some time and you cannot turn the phone back on until the time's up. So find whatever works for you, but avoiding distractions, absolutely crucial. It's important. Try different things again. Similarly, there are different styles for learning things, right? So you might be really good at taking notes, reading your notes, but maybe try other things. Maybe draw some, mind maps or sketches or different things, right? Some people, they like to record themselves. I wouldn't like to do that, although we're recording ourselves right now. I can hear my voice back once I record something. I just can. I feel too like, oh gosh, I sound like a little girl. But that can be one way to do it, right? Record something, make some videos, work in groups, right? Studying in groups, it's actually interesting in the sense that you engage different senses. You're talking, you're listening, you're paying attention, you're writing things down. So you're engaging all yourself when you are in a group, right? It works, but for some others can be distracting. For me, it is distracting because I'm paying too much attention to what others are doing and I don't focus on my own learning. So those are different things that you can certainly practice and find out what works best for you in that case. And as I mentioned before, I do feel it's absolutely important that you need to take care of yourself, right? Working out in the mornings, for example, that's a great way to still keep an eye on your health, on staying active and so forth. Midterms are big, I get it. They're important. We need to perform and get our good grades and so forth. But they cannot be the center of what you do during those, I don't know, 2 weeks or something like that. You need to kind of balance things out, right? Make sure that you're still in touch with family, with friends, doing things that you like, napping, for example, like Deasia. I think that's a great idea. Just breaking things, like I do a little bit here, but then I also take a nap. I mean, super, super important. Taking time for maybe taking a walk. To me, taking a walk, even if it's just 5 minutes, just going out and circle the building and come back, that makes me feel like, okay, I disconnected and I'm still feeling like I have control over my life, right? That's why I don't recommend doing the whole, 8 hours, 10 hours of studying nonstop, whereas you could do this in little parts every day. I think that's a little bit healthier, but definitely think about what is beneficial for you, what makes you feel okay and not overwhelmed. Stress is pretty big during midterms, and you see that at the end, once midterms are done, students are drained, super, super stressed out, anxious, because they spend so much time and they forgot about, taking care about themselves. Don't sleep, things like that. So keep things always in this perspective. What do you do, or do you still take care of yourself when you are, crunching time, when you really, really are busy? Do you still find some time to decompress a little bit?
Yeah, so for me, like I know I already said take a nap. Like I love napping. Like now that I'm home, like sometimes like when I'm stressed, I'll just make something that I like cookies or something. So like like you said, like my mind's off of it, but like I'm doing something I like so that I don't think about what I have to do. Well, I mean, of course I'm thinking about what I have to do because I know like once I'm done making it, I have to go back. But then like it's like relaxing my mind a bit. So I'm like at peace kind of before I have to go back and finish what I have to do.
That's good. Yeah. I also, I just remember, I like to, if I'm watching let's say something on Netflix, I just get 5 minutes just to see, make some progress on my shows and stuff like that. Listen to some music for a few minutes. That definitely helps me to kind of get back to feeling like, oh, I'm myself, I'm a person still, right? Alejandra, what do you do? What are your strategies to keep your balance?
The main one would be I have two very separate work and home environments, so I don't want to mix them at all. So that way, when I'm at school, my mindset is only study, and when I'm at home, it has nothing to do with studying. Like I avoid doing any work at home. So that way I'm more focused at school and I'm more relaxed at home, because I want to keep those environments separate, because I think it makes a really, really big difference. It helps me to get less distracted at school. And also, so when I get home at the end of the day, I usually get home like around dinner time. I don't open my backpack unless it's to get my laptop to watch Netflix, because that way it's like the biggest reward ever, because then I'm done for the day, So it helps a lot for me.
That's a good way to keep it balanced. Jalen, what do you do to keep your life in a balanced way?
So as I said previously, I do work out in the morning because it's kind of the first, it's become like a habit for me. It's kind of just the first thing that like, processes through my head, because sometimes I'll wake up some mornings and just think too much about all the work that I have to do, all the studying that I have to do. But then, whenever I'm working out, it's very therapeutic mentally and physically. Yes. And it just, literally helps keep the blood flowing and everything. And blood flow is essential for maintaining stress levels. So I just feel that it's just, and another thing, I just kind of like to get it out of the way too. It's really hard for me to try to go later in the day. I'm more of like a get up and get it done type of person. That way, since that's done, I have the rest of the day to really focus, rather than if I was to get up and start work. And this is rare, but if I was to get up and start work, it's hard for me to really step away from it.
True. I
Gotta
do
go
think
out and then
it's
gotta come back.
yeah, I think it's great that you are working out in the morning, as you mentioned. It's important to take care of yourself, but exercising has so many benefits, including what you said, the blood flow. It's keeping your brain actually fresh and active and engaged. And so once you're done with the workout and you go work or study, your brain is still like, okay, thanks for taking good care of me. Now I am a good capacity to study and learn, right? Whenever you have this big things going on, they always say like, take a walk, exercise or something. And that's really, really useful. So yeah, so those are really, really good things. If you think about the 6 different tips, it's just very simple, right? We're talking about just taking care of yourself, breaking things into parts, find what works for you, what strategies are important, what are effective for you. Try different things as well. Think about the frog. Always don't forget about the frog. Always think about that big frog and tackle it first. But it's a matter of balance, right? Balancing everything. Midterms are very, they're coming, they're there. It's a routine that happens each semester, right? So it's good to have these strategies and to remembering them. So when it happens, you know how to take care of yourself. So there are just, some things that are important here to keep in mind, because we were a small group. We kind of already went through this, just talking about our, different strategies, what we do when we are going through stressful times. And Jalen was amazing, giving us these amazing tips and things about how you, keep yourself sane and healthy, right? I really appreciate all the tips that you gave us. It's a really, really good example for all the students that will be watching this video. But there's some other things, right, to keep in mind in addition to this. So always check your progress, right? So there's a before midterms and an after midterms. So check if what you're doing is actually effective and is working, right? So is it good? If it's not, maybe you have to reevaluate what you're doing and try different things, right? There's always resources here on campus, such as your academic advisor. This is big because it's about, how well you're performing in your classes. So check for additional strategies, perhaps with your academic advisor. Talk with your professors, of course. That's, I think, in my opinion, the best way to know how you're truly doing. Your professors know better than anybody how you're doing in class, right? So talk with them, go to office hours. They can give you good ideas and good information and suggestions about how to, work those things that you might need to improve. Find tutoring, different resources on campus, learning services are awesome here. These are links. I will be sending this presentation to Jalen, and I also will be posting this on our website for those who are watching this recording. So the links will be available there. We have other resources within academic affairs at CHEST. So academic support resources are also available for anybody who is interested in watching them or exploring them. So I want to thank you guys for chiming in, providing these awesome tips. This is a good opportunity for everybody to, check where you are and improve those things that need to be improved. But I truly appreciate everybody coming here. You guys, please enjoy the weekend, study, but take care of yourself, take naps, work out, have fun. Netflix shows, please do that. And best of luck with your midterms. If you have any additional questions, this is my email. You can always send me your inquiries there. Thank you so much, guys, for participating, and I will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yes, thanks for coming. Thank you. Let me make sure I stop the recording.
You can tell you've done that so many times.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because you just know exactly what to say.
Really?
Yeah, it's like you don't have to think like, oh, what am I gonna say? Or maybe you haven't, but it seems like you have.
Yeah, I've done this so many times that yes, I guess I time it perfectly. So
Yeah.
let me see. I need to make sure that here you are, there you are, that I stopped my recording. I didn't. So
Was it recording?
is it recording? So thank you, Alejandra, for those awesome tips and for the flowers that you just gave me. Bye, guys.